Right, welcome everyone to Common Entrance Revision. Today we're going to look at basic cells, and we're going to look at the history of where they come from. We're going to start talking about the organisation of how living things are. So, first slide we're going to show you, is coming on at the moment, shows us the structure of living things. We go from cells being the smallest thing. We're going to talk about the cells and look at the cells as we go through. We get collections of cells together, we make a tissue, and a tissue are cells that work together to produce something and to do something. When we get a load of tissue together, we get an organ. An organ is a specific structure, and that is going to have a specific job and function. Once I get them together, we get a system, and systems will be organs working together, and you get an organism, which will be a living thing. The type of organ systems you've got will determine which type of organism you've got. If you've got lungs, you may be looking at mammals. If you've got gills, you're looking at fish, and so on. So you can use the organ systems in order to identify the organism. So moving on, let's focus on the cells, the smallest living individual things, first discovered by Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke, an interesting scientist, was around from 1635 to 1703. He is credited with discovering of the cells, made possible by a technological advancement where they were using for the first time microscopes, which enabled them to look at detail at the smallest living particle. So once he discovered that, he wrote his books about it, he drew them, but he didn't know much more about them than they existed. It took later, two German scientists called Schwann and Schwann were the first to link the fact that cells on their own work together to create a living organism, and that each cell on its own is alive, but won't survive without the interaction of the others. Also, you can get unicellular organisms which are one cell big and are completely self-sufficient. For example, here is a picture of an amoeba, a single-celled animal that will live on its own and contains everything needed for life. Human beings, though, are multicellular. We are made out of millions or billions of cells, all working together to keep us alive. So let's focus in on one. Next slide up is an animal cell. Animal cell has got four main parts that you can see on this picture. The first part that everyone seems to remember is the nucleus. It's this black dot right in the middle there. This contains all the DNA, and you look at the exam specification, it says that I'm to say it's the control center of the cell, which makes it sound like a brain, which isn't, in my opinion, correct. I think it's just a store for DNA, but that DNA is what controls the cell, so I can understand why they say it. In terms of your revision, you are looking at the nucleus as being the area that is going to decide what that cell's purpose is. Is it going to make hair? Is it going to create other things that your body needs, other proteins like keratin for your fingernails? So we'll go in a little bit further, and some other organelles we can see. On the end here, you've got the cell membrane. Cell membrane is often confused with something later that we'll see in plant cells, but every living cell has it. The cell membrane, we use the word choosy bag. It is a barrier that lets some chemicals in and some chemicals out, and it will block some chemicals and both in and out. It will keep things in that it wants to keep in, and it will let out the waste products. So in terms of cells, some of the things we want to let in, we want oxygen to get in, we want glucose to get in, we want amino acids, which are used to make proteins, to get in. Going out, we want carbon dioxide to come out, we want water to come out, and we want whatever product is being made. So your cell membrane is the bit that allows this to happen. Also in the cell, we've got tiny little things here that look like kidney beans. Those are your mitochondria. Mitochondria are your energy cells, energy packs for that particular cell. They're the bit that's going to do respiration. They take glucose and oxygen, they put it together, they give you energy, and so the cell can stay alive and do its thing. After that, we've got, right in the middle, the goo. The goo has got the wonderful name of cytoplasm. It's the jelly-like substance in the middle. It's got packed full of stuff. None of them you need to know until GCSE and A level, but its main function is that's your factory. This is the bit that's going to do the making. So those four things you'll find in pretty much every animal cell. There are some exceptions, and when we do specialised cells, we'll talk about those exceptions. So moving on, we've now got plant cells. Plant cells, as you can see from this next slide, are slightly different. You should be able to recognise 4 of the organelles we talked about in plant cells. You can see here there is a nucleus, there is a membrane, there is a cytoplasm, and you can see also there is mitochondria. As they are living cells, they need those 4 things. In addition to that, we've got 3 extra things that you can see around this cell. We've got a cell wall around the outside. This is here to give the plant structure. Animals don't need this, we've got bones. We've advanced beyond cell walls, but plants do need this. They've got this structure that they need to keep them strong and to protect them. We've also got in the middle a big sac that's called a vacuole. This is a store. It stores sap, but it creates a system in the plant where it can make the cell turgid or flaccid. Proper terms for stiff if the plant becomes rigid and stiff. If you water a plant and you can see it become healthy looking and full structure, it's the vacuole that fills and creates pressure on the side, which enables the plant to have its structure. You've also got down the bottom these little green things. Those green things there are your chloroplasts. These are filled with a substance called chlorophyll. Very similar words. Chloroplast is the structure, chlorophyll is the substance. This is the bit inside that does the photosynthesis. Very important for all life on Earth. You only find them in the parts of the plant above the surface. You won't find them in roots, only in places where you get sunlight. The last thing we need to do is to summarise. So now we've got all of those. Here is the table of summaries, and you can see the 4 things on the animal cells and the plant cells are exactly the same. We've got 3 differences, and you need to really learn what those differences are and why they are different and their jobs. Thank you very much for watching. We'll have more videos up soon. Thank you.